Okay. Good evening. I would like to call to order this 1173rd regular meeting of the Board of Library Trustees. We are meeting this evening in the Mirrorless Library main floor. It's July 17th, 2025, and it's 6:01 p.m. May I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Butler,
Here.
Trustee Wong,
Here.
Trustee Uno,
Here.
Trustees Easton and Park are not in attendance, but you do have a quorum, Madam President.
Okay. And I just wanted to check, we do not have a board member in attendance online?
At this moment in time, we do not.
Okay, thank you.
If Trustee Park should join us, we will bring him in. But at this point, no.
Okay. And at that point, if we do bring him in, then we'll discuss, what.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll notify.
Okay. All right. May please rise to join me in the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda for this evening?
I move we adopt the agenda.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion is approved. President's remark and board member comments. At this point, I don't have any remarks for tonight's meeting. Does anyone else have anything that they would like to share? Okay. All right. Communications and comments from the public concerning items that are not on this evening's agenda?
No, ma'am, we have no comments from the public.
Okay, great. Thank you. Next is our consent calendar. Can I have a motion to approve the following items that are on our consent calendar?
I move that we approve the consent calendar as presented in the agenda packet.
Okay. I have a motion to approve the consent calendar. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes. Next is item 9, upcoming Board of Library Trustees conferences and events. Director Addington.
Thank you very much, Madam President. So as indicated in your agenda, though, I did want to call out the California Library Association's annual conference. This year's conference is from Thursday to Saturday, October 23rd to the 25th. It's at the Riverside Convention Center. Early bird registration ends on 9/11/25, and the full conference is $225. A one-day for members is only $155. If you are interested, please let us know, and either myself or Executive Assistant Bender can get you registered for that. Although it's not on the agenda, I did want to share with the trustees that the United for Libraries Association, through the American Library Association, is hosting a 3-day virtual conference. This is coming up fairly quickly. It's from July 29th to the 31st. And as you may know, the United for Libraries organization is specific to trustees, board members of Friends and foundations. And there's actually several very interesting items coming up in that conference. I noticed that there's one that talks very specifically about the role of the Memorandum of Understanding, which we'll actually be talking about a little later. And, top 10 things that library board members should know, but often don't. Just public official basics for trustees, getting familiar with the Freedom of Information laws. So these are all virtual. Registration does give you access during the conference itself, but then also access to recorded sessions for up to a year. Again, if you're interested in that, and I did forward this to the trustees, so you should have it in your email inbox as well. If you're interested in that or just want some more information, I would encourage you to reach out to myself or Executive Assistant Bender. and we'd be happy to talk to you about that. But those are the only two things for now, and I'll yield item number 10.
Okay. And I'll just add on to what Director Addington has discussed, in that I have actually attended that virtual conference. They started it during the pandemic. So, and I've found it very informative because the content is directly relevant to the type of work that we are doing as trustees. And even watching some of the programming that's for friends and foundations, it's a good idea because it helps us understand how we should be operating with them as well. Especially as we're having a conversation tonight about the foundation. So if people have the opportunity, and you don't have to watch it live, you have access to the recordings. So, and I think it's like $90 for a wealth of information from people who are doing the same thing we're doing. And then I also wanted to add, since we're in a new fiscal year, we start anew with the funding for our access to conferences and education resources. So we're starting off fresh. Okay. So for some reason, hold on just a second. Because the agenda. Oh, it did. So hold on a second. The agenda closed for me, so I need to get back to the actual agenda for this evening. Okay. And I do want to say it was weird that I was the only one that got that
Strange.
alarm.
So while we're looking for that, I will say
I
that
found it, but go ahead.
Paul is in attendance. She will need to accept the invitation to become a panelist in order to present or speak in the meeting.
So just a note out to President Paul, if you see the invitation to join as a panelist,
She's coming.
perfect, excellent, thank you.
Okay. And so I will say that the next item on our agenda is item 10, Peninsula. That is quite aggressive. Peninsula Library Friends Foundation Quarterly Report, which will be given by the president, Susan Paul, as soon as she's available.
She's available now. She can unmute and speak when she's ready.
Susan, are you ready? Is the door open or closed?
Susan, we cannot hear you. If you can unmute, let us know, and we'll.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah,
There we go. Welcome.
You guys, I'm like technically sometimes really bad.
It's okay. We got you now.
Sorry. So
Welcome.
sorry.
Welcome, President Paul. Thank you.
Thank you, President Uno and members of the Board of Trustees. President Uno, I received your request, but I was tied up all afternoon. I know you would have liked to have had me do the slide presentation from our annual meeting. I'm not going to be able to do that tonight. I'm happy to provide you the slides, though.
Yes, could you please provide the slides, because I think it would be helpful for the other trustees to have that same information.
Yeah, that would be great, and I will get those to you tomorrow sometime.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So as far as my report tonight, it'll be brief. Just wanted to let everyone know that we've completed the process for our name change, and that name change has been recognized by the state so that it's official. So we're now the Peninsula Library Friends Foundation, PLFF. We've also worked at rebranding our organization. We've developed a new logo. You would have seen that new logo on the correspondence we sent you about the name change as we announced it. So we unveiled that new name change and our logo at our annual meeting here in June. And as I said, you've received correspondence related to that and some frequently asked questions as well. We've updated the website. It is now plffoundation.org. The website is live, and it's been live since our meeting in June. We're still doing some work on it, but the website itself has a more modern look and feel. It's a more interactive site, and we're building, some things, on it as we go, and making some changes as we go. PLFF is a membership-based organization, and at our annual meeting, we also unveiled our new membership structure. PLFF has a membership committee. The committee's been working on that structure for the better part of a year or so, and we unveiled that at the meeting. It is also on the website. So basically, it breaks down the various levels of membership that are available, and then the benefits of being a member of PLFF. The last thing I'll mention as part of my report tonight is we are going to have a supporter celebration event on September 26th at the Malaga Cove Gallery and Garden from 5 to 8 p.m. The theme is a novel night. You'll see that you're to come dressed as a character from your favorite novel or in cocktail attire, and you'll all be receiving both a save the date and an invitation to that event. And that's all I have for you this evening.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for President Paul? No. Okay. Well, thank you for the update. And are you going to send the presentations to me or to Director Addington?
How would all you prefer to get that? I mean, I can do it either way. I can send it to all of you. I can send it to one of you. Just let me know.
You can just send it to all of us if you're okay with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Directly. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Next on our agenda is the Palos Verdes Library District and Peninsula Library Friends Foundation Joint Agreement Update from Director Addington.
Thank you very much, Madam President. So, as the trustees know, we've had some ongoing discussions with the foundation, and for just purposes of ease of communication, I'll refer to the Peninsula Library Friends Foundation as the foundation. It doesn't roll off my tongue quite as easily as the Friends did, only because it's just time in getting used to it. But we've been working rather closely with the foundation, specifically with the Executive Director Merlin David and one of their board members, Rob Willett, to develop a draft agreement, kind of a joint operations agreement between the two agencies. This kind of agreement has never existed before. What we had before was a relationship with the former Friends, and I only say that as to distinguish kind of a before a rebranding, renaming, and the new kind of rebranding, renaming, kind of new focus of the foundation as they go forward. But what we had before were Friends of the Library operational descriptions and edicts and whatnot that were actually rolled into library policy. So there was actually library policy that dictated how the Friends operated. There was, some joint understandings of, well, we do this and the Friends do that. It would say in the library's naming policies or donor recognition policies, how the Friends should operate. And one of the things that really came out of a transition from the Friends into a foundation is their desire to establish themselves as a really fully comprehensive and freestanding organization. They were not a part of the library. So we've really made some efforts to, and you'll see later in the agenda, efforts to change our own policies so that we're not dictating the Friends. But as they are coalescing around being a more freestanding organization in and of themselves, we found it was important then to establish how they, as an independent organization, work with and in our building as the library. So this kind of came out of several conversations over the last couple of years, and from a meeting where our own board liaisons to the Friends met with the Friends executive group and kind of hashed out a lot of concerns and questions about how the two organizations worked, and really put forth this idea that we needed something like this. I've been advocating for something like this for some time, and it's taken a while. It's taken a while to get us there. So Deputy Director Ryan Roy and I met with Executive Director David and Board Member Willett. And for about 6 months, we went back and forth on concepts, ideas, language, formatting. We looked at samples from other libraries, from Friends groups, from foundation groups, and we kind of came up with a document. We got to a point where we really felt like we could take that document as far as we could, and the two groups took it respectively back to their boards. I shared it with President Uno, but I had not shared it with the full board. I did meet then again with President Paul, and unfortunately, her feedback at that time was that the foundation board just wasn't really happy with the document. They didn't feel like it was, they felt it was a bit overkill, that maybe it didn't need to be that long, that was there a way to shorten it? And I specifically asked her if she would perhaps give me some edits, like, redline it, tell me what you want. And so she was able to do that. She went away and did that, brought me back some edits. I looked them over, we had a conversation about them, but then I also shared that with our general counsel, because again, I do look at this as a formal agreement between these two separate and distinct organizations. And while I think there's a lot of agreement over what the foundation does and what the library does, I also think there's some confusion on occasion. It's been pretty well known that, whose program is this, or who does that, or how do we do this? And so I thought it was pretty important that we do that, that we create a document. So I did reach out to our general counsel, Kevin Ennis. I followed up with him. I followed up with Susan again. We kind of went back and forth. But what you have and what I've shared with you is the draft document with the foundation edits. This does not include feedback from our general counsel. So what I wanted to share is kind of some of the things that we're still working on. We're definitely looking to update the format of it. I think it's important to kind of be able to identify these sections very quickly and easily, so we'll be numbering them. The other thing that we had a little bit of back and forth on is the naming, the description of the two organizations. I think that our general counsel felt that it was appropriate and necessary to kind of elaborate on that as much as possible. So we'll be trying to come back with some language that we can both agree with there. Possibly rearranging general principles and adding a membership section. I think it is important to call out membership, because one of the things that even the foundation has noted is that, having a library card does not make you a foundation member. Library card is a member, if you will, of the library, not of the foundation. And I think there's an opportunity to clarify some of that. We're going to look at insurance and indemnification, and we're going to look at specific about conduct. One of the things that I will say, and we're still in discussion with the Friends or the foundation over this, is the foundation has, I would say, sort of a fundamental disagreement with adding in that they would abide by our code of conduct. I'm not exactly sure why. I won't completely speak to that. One, one of some of the feedback I've gotten is that it's a policy that is sort of unenforceable. It wasn't crafted by them or with them. We can't really hold them accountable to that. I personally challenge that. In conversation with general counsel, they also had some concerns about that. Yes.
So if they don't want to, shall we say, use our code of conduct as guidance, I take it that they have their own code of conduct.
No.
And Kingston, and I would hold off on
Okay.
the discussion portion because, that is not typical for an organization that is a partner with another organization and occupying their spaces to not follow their code of conduct and to want to
Yeah.
have something different.
So that was I mean, and we did have some robust conversation around that. I will say President Paul was open to crafting a new set of guidelines, of conduct guidelines specific to the foundation and the library. And those have not been crafted yet. We haven't gone down that road just yet. I will put it out there that I'm a little concerned that, an organization that operates out of our space basically won't adhere to our code of conduct and says that it doesn't really apply to them. I do have some concern with that. Um, Hearing that they were open to crafting other guidelines around code of conduct, general counsel wasn't too hung up on it, but they also wondered, why wouldn't you just accept it? It was a point of interest. And then the other part that was also kind of something that we went back and forth about was the foundation's initial request to basically remove all the language around indemnification and insurance. There's no doubt that when you go to counsel, you're going to get a very legalized opinion. You're going to get lawyers have a very certain way of looking at something. But the feedback that I got from our general counsel is, this is a completely separate entity. And if in fact they are going to be operating on our premises, that having language around indemnification and insurance is in fact important. That, obviously it's all about liability, but if an organization wants to have the kind of independence that the foundation wants to really guide their own programming, their own everything, they're their own board. They've been very, very upfront about saying, we do not work for the library. The library does not manage the foundation. We are our own entity. We raise money for you, but we are very, very much alone. Then it seems like they should be able to take on the coverage of a certain amount of liability that, and how do we, and they need their own insurance and they need to indemnify us for their own actions, should there be any. And how you get that is through a contractual obligation like this agreement. The feedback from counsel is that, he just didn't feel like this was an unreasonable ask. If they have a policy of insurance that provides for that, and that, a majority of nonprofits would probably not have a problem kind of doing this. General counsel did offer some new language in those two areas, and I have not presented that to President Paul yet. But I just wanted basically to bring to the board that these are some of the areas where I think we do have some disagreements. I am trying to be very hopeful. I'm trying to be very positive. I'm trying to go into it with a good attitude. But there are some areas of concern. And my areas of concern are primarily around establishing any kind of agreed upon levels of conduct and how would one hold anybody accountable to them. and the liabilities and insurance aspects of that. I also do think that, you know, it would behoove us to perhaps have a deeper conversation about this. You know, I think I wanted to bring this to you because you guys have never seen it before. I wanted you guys to be able to read the agreement, to see the edits. Please know that this is not the final edit. We are very much still in process of reviewing this. But I have gotten some very good feedback from legal, and unfortunately they could not come this evening, and it wasn't something that I really even reached out to them for this particular meeting. So what I'd like to be able to do is go back to President Paul with some ideas, some suggestions, some additional conversation, but then perhaps also invite our general counsel to join us at a special meeting where we can actually talk about this in a little more detail, in a little more depth. I think being able to ask counsel what their opinion is and why. Obviously, they are very much about protecting the district. Whatever they can do to lessen any kind of liability. But I also think it is, in fact, the trustees' role to ensure that the district is as protected as possible. And if we have an organization that we don't supervise, we don't run, we don't work in tandem with as far as policies and whatnot, then we should have something that we can really trust and believe in that guides how those two organizations are working together. So that would be my recommendation. And but I'm also happy to answer any questions. President Paul and I are still working. We have very constructive and good conversations. But there are a few areas of concern. So I just wanted you to be aware that this is what we were working on.
Okay, so before we start the discussion, I
Mhm.
see trustee Park, and we need to gauge what his participation is going to be. So I believe that Director Addington has had a conversation with him about what needs to take place in order for him to be a recognized participant in tonight's
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah, if Trustee Park has joined us, he just needs to unmute himself and put his video on, acknowledge that he's here and can hear us, and we can hear him, and he can participate. So if Trustee Park, if you're there, if you can unmute yourself and put your video on, then you can be a participant.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Can we see you?
No.
Um,
Do you have your camera on?
my video's on. I can hear you fine.
It's the visual portion. So what we're seeing is what looks like the camera
With
has
line
a
through
block
it.
outline on it.
All right, well, I just won't participate then, but I'd like to listen.
Okay, that's
Okay, that's fine.
yeah.
So we just won't come to you for discussion.
Okay.
But you can go ahead and mute yourself so that we don't have issues.
All right.
Okay. Thank you. So Kingston, I know you wanted to speak.
Well,
But before you go,
Yeah.
I'm just going to, just quickly reiterate some of the things that Director Addington had. So we have not had this type of documentation before.
No.
And since I was elected to the board the first time and then the second time, there's been a big change in who is part of the Friends, the foundation. And I think that alone speaks to the importance of us having a document like this so that we have documented what the expectations are and how we are working together. And it's not a matter of trust or relationships, but it is our responsibility, as Director Addington pointed out, to make sure that the district is entering into relationships or contracts that are most beneficial to the district. I mean, that is our responsibility as trustees, to be responsible for the finances, the reputation, the continuation of the district. And so as we have this discussion, I want us to keep that front of mind, that's what we're here for. As I've read through, I've had a number of issues with what's documented here, or what has been taken out, or some want to generate. And I think it's very important that we have an understanding from legal what the potential risks are of us accepting some of these things before we, move forward. And so having said that, just as my start, I hope you each had an opportunity to read through and, have brought any questions that you may have so that we can bring them forward. But I very much am in favor of us having a special meeting with legal where this is our sole conversation, because it's a huge change.
Yeah, well, let me just go ahead and say that, number one, I do understand that membership changes, constituency changes, organizations change. So it doesn't necessarily bother me that the Friends they were the one who initiated the evolution of their organization. So let's go ahead and put it out there. Now, my interjection into asking Director Addington about, well, if they don't want to use our code of conduct as a guidance, then maybe they must have their own.
Mhm.
And the lovely thing is, I think that you and I have worked well enough together that it was uncoordinated, but you were also to add some very, good observation about that point. And I guess I interjected it in that point because, there are people who never are aware of the special meetings. They don't pay attention to it. Maybe they'll come in sometimes as a curiosity to watch 1 month versus the other's monthly meeting. But I guess this was just one opportunity to show that within this document, this is just like one instance in which the trustees do have a big concern.
Mhm.
And this is only one instance. So as we take it to have a special meeting amongst trustees and legal counsel, I just want it available for the public, which includes any of the Friends Foundation members who might be watching, that we have legitimate concerns about this agreement. And that's just one example.
Mhm.
And I think that any reasonable person would think, oh, yeah, it does seem to make sense that if they don't want to conform to a code of conduct, then they must have one of their own. And if they don't have one of their own, then what does that really mean? They're not bound by any code of conduct?
And I would say that our code of conduct, is demonstrative of our values, right? And we want to make sure that who we're working with has shared values.
But it's also to go ahead and protect staff, the public, and the institution.
All of whom abide by the code of conduct.
Yes.
It's a concern. Yeah.
It's a big concern for me. I mean, I think it's a first step.
And I mean, I think the feedback, some of the feedback that I got was that there's a great deal in the code of conduct that maybe seems like it doesn't really apply. It's things like you can't ride your scooter in the library, or, you have to, you can't harass people, you can't bring in extra bags. I mean, I can't remember every bit of it, but, it does, there's no roller skating. You can't leave your personal property. You can't bring in animals unless they're service animals. I mean, I appreciate that some of that may not necessarily pertain to an agreement between two organizations. But I think as a whole, what we've often said is,
But then,
at the very least,
What
we
part-
have a code of conduct,
yes, I know,
and-
but to go ahead and pick out those outliers, what portion of our code of conduct would be applicable to them that they don't want to follow?
Well, and I think that's again to Susan or to President Paul's openness to crafting something specific. I think her thought was, well, let's take out these things that say animals or selling or panhandling or soliciting, or, we're not, we don't have to abide by unattended children or something like that.
I think
But I
we
suppose
end
there
up
was,
opening
yeah,
ourselves to others saying, well, I'm not going to do these things. So can we
Right.
have a different code of conduct for me?
yeah. Yeah, and I can appreciate that. And I think that was one of the concerns is why would we have to create a brand new code of conduct?
And let me also go
Why
ahead
couldn't you
and
just
say
abide
this.
by it?
Let me also go ahead and say this. In an instance in which we have shared space, dare I
Mhm.
say, we offer them
Mm.
space free for use.
Yeah.
I don't think the public draws a distinction between a foundation staff person and a library staff
Mhm.
person.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, unless we want to go play Star Trek where people wear yellow uniforms, red uniforms, and blue uniforms,
Mhm.
I don't think it's going to float.
Right. You're absolutely correct. I mean, it's already obvious that people don't draw a distinction between the two of us.
Yeah. And then, like I said, I think the other thing that we do have some concerns with
Yeah.
is the removal of indemnification and insurance
Yeah.
and things like
Mhm.
that.
I
It's
guess-
like these are,
Yeah,
again, legal counsel came
Yeah.
back and just said,
Mhm.
absolutely not.
yeah.
It's my job to protect the district,
Right.
Yeah.
and you're not protecting the
Yeah,
district
I
if
think
you
that,
remove these.
not to just harp on code of conduct, I think there are a number of things
Right.
within
Right.
the initial draft
Yeah.
that we have. But, it's easy to go ahead and just within the limited time we have here, demonstrate
Right.
on this one thing why we have so many concerns.
Right.
Mhm.
And which is why, and the special meeting is an open meeting. It's,
Yeah.
it's not a closed session. So people
No.
can attend.
Yeah, but they're never going to see it on YouTube at their convenience.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
But, which is why we are, discussing some of it here, and they have the opportunity to look at the draft and see
Yeah, they could
what
get
it's
a small
been picked up,
taste.
which has been
Yeah.
redlined.
Yeah.
But also with respect to the insurance, not too long ago, we made a change to our insurance. So why would we not expect an organization that has started, developing almost as much programming as the library to not take responsibility for
Mhm.
what they're doing?
Well, again, if we want to go ahead and talk about, liability, the way things work when you do a lawsuit is you go ahead and sue everybody until people can get released
Right.
Right.
from the suit. And let me tell you something, if they're going to squeeze nothing out of a stone,
Mhm.
guess what? That person's probably going to get released pretty darn fast.
Right.
And I will say, our general counsel has made every effort to make the indemnification mutual. We absolutely believe that the district would not expect for the foundation to indemnify the district of our own actions or omissions or anything like that.
Right.
It's not one directional. We absolutely believe it applies to both parties. We believe it to be very reasonable. And we do have language that would shorten what is currently in here. And like I said, I'd like to be able to bring that back to President Paul to share some of this. But as has already been said, I do think there's enough that it would be of value to the trustees to actually hear it from legal
Yeah.
counsel as
Right.
well.
And
To
so I
actually
would,
hear why would this be important with
Right.
a third party organization
and so I would actually ask that you not take it back to
until you
President
have.
Paul
yeah.
until we've had an opportunity to speak with legal. And,
Okay.
and I would like us to speak with legal sooner rather than later.
Sure. We'll work on getting that set up right away.
I
Okay.
assume it was council that drafted this initial text in the indemnification section, right? It was redlined out. It was,
They didn't, I don't think they completely crafted it, our legal counsel, but they were aware of the redlining on the part of the foundation. Um, again, as we started this, it was a mix of what we already have, of what we saw in samples, of what I gleaned from other agreements and thought was important to have in our own agreement. Um, and then as you look further in the document, you'll see that the foundation also feels like, governing law and venue and waiver, like all of these could go. Our general counsel felt like it was helpful language, but they weren't going to die on that hill necessarily, but they didn't see why it had to go.
Right. And I would like them to,
Explain that. a little bit.
explain what it
Right.
means.
Mhm.
Well,
And does it matter to us
Yeah.
as much as we think it does?
Right.
I think, in a benign way that, when the foundation, the Friends formerly decided to go ahead and embark on this change, I honestly think that there were certain knock-on effects or knock-on events that they didn't foresee. And these are little things. And so it's kind of like they want to have the best of both worlds. They want to have what they had before where it suits them, and they want to have the new thing where it suits them. And it's kind of like, no, you got to have the whole new thing if you're going to go that direction.
Right.
And so again, I do agree with President Uno. I really would like to have that meeting with legal before you go back,
Okay.
so that when you go back, you, number one, have the full legal opinion as to why we want something or
Okay.
why we think it's important.
Mhm.
And number two, so that when you go back, you know that it is all of the trustees together having hammered and tonged and come
Mhm.
to consensus, and that we're basically of an opinion that we're asking you to go ahead and
I
Mhm.
I welcome that conversation. I welcome that feedback, and I welcome that opportunity to talk, directly with legal. Because I think, like I said,
And because we may have very
Right.
different questions from what you've already asked them.
absolutely. And I think it is important. I agree with you. As the foundation, as the Friends of the Library transitioned into this foundation, and they adjusted their bylaws to change, you know, kind of their focus to be very much more focused on the foundation itself, and really asserting themselves as being an independent organization, which they are, then I think it just lends itself to a document, an operational agreement. We don't have to call it an MOU, but it is an operational agreement between the two organizations.
Mhm.
And we have a responsibility to ensure that we are protected against,
Yeah.
any kind of liability that we could be exposed to.
And again, our responsibility is to
Mhm.
the community
Yeah.
as the representative body
Mhm.
of the community that
Mhm.
is served by this library district,
Right.
and to make sure that the library is always in a strong position.
Mhm.
So, I do
agree.
feel like, we need to be able to better understand what is being asked of us. And I will say that we were very patient while, they were figuring out what they wanted to do.
Mhm.
And then we were presented with, this is who we are now. And now I think we need to take a close look at what that means.
Mhm.
And if it's serving the district
Mhm.
as we expect it to.
I agree, and I'm happy to move forward on setting up a special meeting with legal as soon as we can.
And I
It
think
may-
that's where we are, unless anyone else has any questions or comments.
I do, but I'll save for the
No,
meeting with
if you
legal.
want to share, I mean,
Just,
because as trustee Wong pointed out, this is an opportunity for the public to also be able to understand.
I mean, I share all the concerns that have been brought up already. I would say like on the miscellaneous section E governing law, then this is kind of in the weeds here, but I, that to me, I'm just surprised, and I'd love to understand the reasoning behind the redlining, because that text is so, it features prominently in almost any contract I've ever seen, you know, determining where jurisdictionally the agreement is to be interpreted.
Mm.
So I'm just curious where some of these edits originated and what the impetus was behind them.
And I think some of those you don't even have an understanding of, correct?
I mean, I have as much as, you know, it just felt like, well, this isn't really needed, or that's not really needed, or this is overkill. You know, one of the terms that was shared was, it just felt like overkill. And I think, to your point, this idea that we've never needed this before.
Mhm.
Why do we need it now? And to that, I would say, because the relationships have changed, because the organization has literally changed. The name of it has changed. The purpose of it has changed. So it is a different organization with a different set of goals.
Right.
And because of that, and some of the feedback I think is absolutely the appropriate move, like removing directives from our policies to the Friends. I think those are absolutely, it's important to separate. We probably were a little too enmeshed together. There very much was, there was a Friends, but it was really almost part of the library. And that was the way it ran for
Mhm.
many, many, many years. So if the new foundation really does want to separate itself and be its own freestanding thing, then I think that that is why we need the document that we've never had before, and why maybe it feels a little like legal or feels a little like overkill. But it's because it's a completely different entity than it was 2 years ago.
Right.
I mean,
Well, I
a-
mean,
a
yeah,
completely
because as I
different
said, since
entity.
I came in and I've been the liaison the past 2.5 years, and it's changed completely in that period of time. And I will say, as the liaison, not really being aware of the direction they were going and that information being shared with the liaisons, I'm going to say feels a little strange. And so now we're at this point where, we're getting a lot of pushback when there wasn't a lot of clarity around the changes that were going to be implemented. And so again, a document that lays it out clearly what the relationship is required. And it's because those changes took place.
Right. Yes, I would agree.
Anytime two organizations are working closely together in the same physical space, or, you know, with a similar mission and purpose, I think it's just prudent to have some
Mhm.
kind of,
Yeah.
And I kind of took a look at some, other organizations' documents,
Mhm.
and nothing that we're asking for in here is something that I'm not seeing in other similar documents.
And by the way, and this may be the most worst analogy, but to your point, Trustee Bueller, I'm in the process of selling a house. And there's so much standard language in that contract, some of which may or may not apply to me. But you don't see me rewriting the thing just because there are certain clauses that don't apply to me. But that doesn't mean that it being there isn't helpful or isn't just simply benign. So I don't I don't know. Let's go ahead and talk to council.
Yeah, and because the bottom line is, we need to be doing what is right for the district.
Yeah.
So,
Anyways,
Happy to move forward on
yeah.
that.
And so if you could get that before
I'll
what should be our August meeting.
We'll start seeing if we could set that up right away. I'll reach out to council tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Mm.
So let me get back to the agenda
yes.
so that I go to the correct item. Okay. So now we are on Item 12, updates to multiple library policies regarding the Peninsula Library Friends Foundation name change. Director Addington.
Thank you very much. Well, as we've already discussed, and as President Paul shared at the very beginning of the meeting, the Peninsula Friends of the Library have changed their name to the Peninsula Library Friends Foundation. In our own library policies, the Peninsula Friends of the Library appear many times, sometimes as just a name, these people done, and then sometimes a little more detailed in a policy. So what Executive Assistant Bender and I did was go through the entire policy manual and pull out all the incidents where the Peninsula Friends of the Library, those words appeared. And then I broke them down into 4 different, for ease of understanding and ease of motion making, to be quite honest, into 4 different motions. And in the memo included in the packet, you'll see how this is laid out. In the very first grouping, which we referred to as Policy Group 1, which is Exhibit A, these are 10 individual policies where it is simply a name change. It is simply changing the words Peninsula Friends of the Library to Peninsula Library Friends Foundation. It doesn't change the content. It doesn't change anything about it other than a straight name change. So I'll explain them all and then we can go back to them. But my recommended action for this would be to simply approve all the updates to Policy Group 1 as presented in Exhibit A, which again are straight name changes with no impact. In Exhibit B, you'll see that there are 2 policies to be reviewed. There is Policy 8040, the Board of Library Trustees Committees, and 8050.2, Peninsula Friends of the Library Liaison. There's a little bit more to both of these. Not a great deal. It's more clarifying and pulling it into an alignment with definitions that we've already established. So in 8040, what you'll see is in red, it is a name change. And then in blue, the California Public Library Advocates and the Library Advisory Committees no longer exist. So it would just be a removal of those because it's not applicable anymore. In 8050, you'll see that it is simply 3 name changes, those are in red, and then removing the language that said, and committee meetings such as fundraising, outreach, and engagement. This is very old language from when the Peninsula Friends of the Library had fundraising committees, outreach committees, engagement committees that the board participated in. The Board of Library Trustees no longer participates in those committees for the foundation. And then this last bit was a holdover from an old definition of the Community Relations Committee. So it would just be a removal. So a little bit more, but still fairly straightforward. In policy 9010.2, this required a bit more adjustment. It is basically a descriptive policy. There's no action really in this particular policy. It was a way of, I think, just explaining who the Peninsula Friends of the Library were. And you can see in blue where a majority of it is just language change, but I am suggesting some additional changes in that third, where it says that attendance, support, and encouragement of activities are recommended, and a appointment, the appointed Board of Library Trustees liaison will attend. I think in keeping with what we are actually doing,
Mhm.
I just wanted to tighten this up a little bit. I'm happy to take suggestions, but these were just my suggestions in this one. And then the final one, I have actually edited quite a bit. This donor recognition was a library policy that literally dictated how the Friends did their donor recognition. And even I would agree that is completely inappropriate. We should not have a policy that dictates how the Friends and now the foundation do their donor recognition. So I went through this entire policy with an eye to creating it only about the library, not the Friends or the foundation at all. So it would be how the library recognizes donors, and we do have library donors. We do have people that give the library money. How the library recognizes non-monetary donations. We absolutely get people who give us furniture, for example, or other things, statues. We often don't accept them because it can be very problematic to accept furniture and statues and art and things like that. But it does happen. And I removed everything that had anything to do with the donor recognition board, which we do not manage, and just really tightened this whole section up. I did very little in the actual naming recognition, but I will say, I think that naming recognition, there is opportunity for growth there for us, but I think it really needs to be thought out. I think the naming recognition is a holdover of a very commingled relationship that the library had with the Friends of the library. And do we want to continue that kind of work as we move forward? There really is very little that actually calls out the Library Friends Foundation, so I just didn't touch it. I didn't get into it. But I would say there's an opportunity for further discussion. But right now, I'm only presenting the changes that you can see in blue to the donor recognition part. So again, happy to take ideas or input on that. But I've been very intentional about taking out anything that would direct the
Mhm.
foundation and making it solely about the library.
So before we have a discussion, I just want to make sure that there's no one online who has any questions before we start our discussion.
But we have no speaker cards either.
Okay, okay. I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So again, my suggestions just for ease would be 4 individual motions so that we broke it up so
Mhm.
that if anybody had any questions about the individual policies, we could address those
Okay.
individually.
All right. So let's start with the first motion. Does anyone have any questions or comments on that section? But I'm just trying to scroll back. to-
Yeah, this
Just
this
give me a
section,
moment.
Let me just go ahead and say, I don't know who put in the grunt work, but somebody put in a lot of work into these 4 stages.
I did.
I'm just tossing it out there.
Yeah, she just told us.
Tammy and I did. Tammy, executive assistant Bender, did a lot of wonderful work
Yeah.
in pulling all of these out too. So between the two of us, we kind of tried to capture all the places. And, again, this first one is just name
The
changes.
simple name changes.
just
So
name
does
change.
anyone have any question or comment on that? Okay, so can I get a motion on this one, on the first one? where the recommended action, and you can just read the recommended action. Well, okay, I'll say what the recommended action is, and you can say I so move. The Board of Library Trustees approves the policy updates to Policy Group 1 as presented in Exhibit A.
I so move.
Okay, I have a motion from Vice President Butler. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Okay, so then the next one is the ones that required additional editing, and they are related to Board of Library Trustees committees and liaison. So the recommended action is the Board of Library Trustees approves the updates to policies 8040.0 point zero Board of Library Trustee Committee and 8050.2 Peninsula Friends of the Library Liaison as presented in Exhibit B.
I so move.
Okay, I have a motion from Secretary Wong. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so those first two have passed. The next one is the Library Board of Trustees approves the policy updates to policy 9010.2 Peninsula Friends of the Library as presented in Exhibit E, and that related to outlining basic operational details.
Madam President, may I make one quick thing?
Yes.
This actually should say 9010.2 Peninsula Library Friends Foundation.
Oh, okay.
So just with that one correction, 9010.2 Peninsula Library Friends Foundation.
Okay.
There's also just one typo in the final sentence.
Oh.
Says basic. I think it means basis
Outlining,
on a quarterly basis. Is that right?
In the last sentence. Oh, you're right. Yes, I'll fix that.
okay.
Yep.
I so move with the spelling correction noted.
It was a change of how the friends are.
Yeah,
Listed
with the change to the name and the spelling correction.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and
Thank you.
then Exhibit D. The Board of Library Trustees approves policy updates to 7031.0 donor recognition opportunities, 7031.1 purpose and scope, 7031.2 donor recognition principles, 7031.3 donor recognition, and 7031.4 sponsorships as presented in Exhibit D.
Can I make one comment before I so move?
Yes, you can.
Okay. So as everybody here knows, I've been a trustee for quite a while. There was a period of time when we really went on a spur of naming, especially like study rooms.
Yeah.
And there's a point in time when I think we started thinking if we were running out of things on which to slap a name. And also came the question as to the duration of the naming right. And it's going to be for perpetuity or until we go ahead and do a remodel or whatever. So for a lot of reasons, I think that just for the control, it's a good thing that we go ahead and take that back. So I like the changes. I so move.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So, you got those policies all cleaned up?
Thank you very much. We will definitely clean those all up and we'll come back at a later date with some ideas about naming.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, so let me get back to the agenda. Okay, so now we're on item 13. Strategic planning update from Deputy Director Roy.
Yes, thank you, President Uno. So now the exciting part of the meeting, because we are presenting a draft of the strategic plan at long last. And I know the board's well aware that Our internal staff have been working for several months, probably 7 or 8 months at this point on getting to the point where we are tonight, where we have a draft to present to the board. And that involved a lot of data gathering, a lot of strategizing about how to reach out to our stakeholders, involving our stakeholders. And by stakeholders, I'm talking about the community that uses the library, the library staff that work in the library, the board of trustees themselves, our partner organizations like the newly named Peninsula Library Friends Foundation, getting their input, really engaging these groups, getting their feedback into where the direction of the library could and should go over the next 4 years. And then the long process of sifting through that feedback, taking a close look at it, parsing it out, and then incorporating it into what is ultimately our draft here of the strategic plan. So it's taken many months, and we did meet with the board, I think back in March, to go over all the feedback we'd gathered up to that point, get a little guidance from the board, and that has been very helpful. We've been able to draft out what you see in the document here, but also earlier iterations of it, and present those to department managers and the staff all together, and get more feedback on more minute tweaks we could make, and then meet again as a team and ultimately craft this language down into what we have presented in the board packet. So I want to go over just a couple of items that you'll see in here. Mainly, one of the big standout items is that the mission and vision for the library are remaining the same from our last strategic principles that we held for the library. These are things that we polled both the staff, the board, the community. Everyone felt like the mission and vision did still resonate with them. So we wanted to keep that continuity between the previous plan and this one. And then going through all of the feedback and data that we had, what we wanted to do, and kind of in combination with the direction from the board, was drill these down into major strategic priorities, of which we have outlined 4 in this plan. And so the 4 strategic priorities that are highlighted in the plan are the access to information and community environments, our organizational excellence, learning, inspiration, and imagination, and inclusion and belonging. So what you will see in this plan, and I won't go through every detail here in the presentation, but you'll see the 4 main priorities laid out in the plan.
Just a quick
Explain-
question.
Yeah, sure.
Are you going to project?
I am not projecting. I'm
Okay.
just
Do you want to?
talking as to what is in the packet.
Okay.
Do you wanna-
I could share my screen if anyone.
Would you prefer it?
I think so.
Let's see
if you
can
can.
share really quick.
Because also if we think about maybe somebody will watch back the recording.
Yeah, let me see if I can make that a little bigger. So there are the 4 strategic priorities that we have outlined. And as I was saying, as you go through the document, it will take them one by one. It will explain what each priority means to us as an organization. And then as you flip page by page, you will have that priority listed there at the top of the page. And then in bold there, you will have an outcome that we hope to achieve from this priority. And there are multiple of these, and I'll be switching back and forth here. So as you can see, these are all for access to information and community environments. And then, for example, our outcome here will be innovations and new technologies are actively explored and evaluated to ensure that PVLD remains current and aware of potential improvements and opportunities. And then you'll see bullet points underneath the outcomes. And these are kind of initiatives that we plan to implement. They do not, and this is kind of in keeping with the guidance we got from the board and how we wanted to structure this plan, this does not go into very specific operational initiatives. We did want to take a broader view, but we did want to get specific enough that we could see how we're going to go about achieving some of these outcomes. So as we move through the document, you'll see in bold more of the outcomes for each of the priorities. And as we move to another priority, it'll explain what that priority means to us as an organization and what means to our strategy. And then you will get more pages of the outcomes and initiatives that we are looking for. So as we go through, you can see all of the priorities there, and then at the end, there's just an acknowledgements page where we appreciate all of the staff and volunteers, community members, library stakeholders who participated, and there were many acknowledgements of the Board of Trustees and our strategic planning team who put this document together and distilled all of the data and feedback that we got, which did include Director Addington and myself. Our Adult Services Assistant Manager, Evan Coates, who's here with us tonight, and our Digital Services Manager, David Campbell, and our Circulation Manager, Ketsi Diaz, all of which put in a tremendous amount of work over the last 8 months. So we do appreciate their input and the input of the board. So tonight, this is still just a draft. We have more work to do on this, and we are hoping to get a little more of the final type feedback from the board on how you feel the strategic plan is coming along. We have also adjusted, and if I can switch back to the very beginning of the slides or the plan itself, adjusted the dates to a calendar date instead of going by fiscal year. We feel like this will help our strategic planning team in the future get off of that fiscal cycle where so many things are happening at the end of the fiscal year that we're not also trying to cram our strategic planning into a cycle where so many other initiatives are also on the calendar. So this will also get us off of our MOU cycle with our union and allow us to have a 4-year strategic plan on a calendar year basis, and a little more breathing room as we do our strategic planning process in the next cycle, which does take about a year. So we are excited to get some feedback from the board at this point. And as I said, this is still the draft form. We will be coming back with a final version of this document after we get the board's thoughts here in this meeting.
So I'm going to start off with what may seem like a fussy one. But in the past, we've had some questions, maybe some confusion about the difference between strategic plan, strategic principles, and strategic priorities. And so in order to make sure that, we all are using the same language.
Yeah.
And maybe, this is not to expect you to do it tonight, but to review each of those so that we understand when we're looking that we're all using the same language.
Yeah.
Because I know, we've had ongoing discussions where people were unsure about how they're tracking progress. And I think a lot of it is just caused by we're not always using the same vocabulary.
Well, we hope to put an end to that with this cycle in that we are saying this is our strategic plan. And in the past, we have shied away from using that term strategic plan, and in lieu of something a little more nebulous in some terms of strategic initiatives, just things that are guideposts that we're going for. So we did want to go a little more detailed into this plan as we had in our strategic initiatives in the past.
Okay.
But we do hope to be more definitive moving forward, that this is a strategic plan. It is not an action plan. That would be a separate whole other shift that the staff will work on themselves. And we're actually reimagining the way that our departments are going to enact this plan in and of itself. So those are
Right.
meetings that we already have planned and scheduled, once we have a finalized strategic plan. But we do want to use that language, strategic plan. Our team looked at dozens of example strategic plans. No two are alike. Any one of those you could call strategic initiatives if you want. But we do consider this a traditional strategic plan, and we will use that terminology.
Okay.
And I think especially when, you start with this slide, which is our strategic plan, it is the overarching umbrella over everything. This is our plan. Here is the document.
Right.
And if you forward just a few slides, we've added a director's message, a president's message. We've talked about our mission and vision. We've talked about, to be quite honest, our statistics have been some of the best they've ever been. There's no doubt that this community is utilizing our library. They're utilizing our services. They're coming to our programs. They're getting passports. We're making, more revenue on passports than we did even pre-COVID. So there's no doubt that our input into the community is very, very high. And the overall results that we get are very, very high. So it's a little bit about continuing to do what we do really, really well. We've talked about kind of our process and some of the results. Overall patron satisfaction, we're getting basically a 9 out of 10 across the board. I mean, people really, really like us. And if they have any criticism, it's usually they want more of everything, which then you just have to like balance capacity.
Mhm.
But in the next one, there they are. Like, these are our priorities. These are the 4 areas that we want to focus on. Now, they may seem very like, well, what does that mean? Organizational excellence. Well, but in some ways it means exactly what it says. We want to make sure that we are a high functioning organization, an organization that respects and appreciates their employees, that has the very best practices in place at all times. And we talk about that, you know? So each one of those priorities has kind of a, you know, a description that comes with it. Um, and then there's maybe 3 or 4 sort of subsets under that of what we mean by that. But I think one of the things that we tried very intentionally not to do this time was to get into the weeds where we said,
Mhm.
and the adult services department will hold 3 programs, because that's an action.
Mhm.
That's up to the adult services manager to determine what actions are going to fulfill, you know, the element above it, you know. And we didn't want to dictate that. We didn't want to be the ones who are saying, well, the strategic plan says you're going to do this. It's like, no, the strategic plan says you're going to promote organizational excellence. And it's up to every department manager to figure out how what they do in their department supports organizational excellence. Um, and there has been a lot of discussion about, well, how are you going to measure that? Well, how are you going to do that? But I think our statistics are, in fact, measurements.
Mhm.
I mean, we come back and we say, how? Because our team are getting awards, because we're winning the California, you know, libraries PR Excellence Award, because our attendance is going up, because our circulation is going up, because everything we do is doing better. That has to be partly because we're fulfilling the goals that we set
Mhm.
ourselves.
Mhm.
And if it's organizational excellence, or if it's access to information and community environments. Well, if our rooms are booked, if the study rooms are booked, if people are coming into the library, if the door count is up, then we are in fact providing access to community environments. That's the statistics. That's the statistical data that proves that. So we didn't want to like fill the plan, which I think is a plan, with then like, and then you will do this. It's like, no,
Mhm.
there's a reason professional librarians and department managers take responsibility for their departments,
Mhm.
because we entrust them with that
Yes.
responsibility.
And what they find most helpful is those guideposts,
Yeah.
you know, what are the strategic guideposts that we need to have in mind
Mhm.
as we plan our department
Right.
service?
And let me just, you know, say that it was not an issue for me, but I have seen it be an ongoing issue within this group. And so I just want to make sure that, you know, it's top of mind as you're working things through.
And
And so your final presentation, you know, addresses it
Mhm.
so that, I mean, because it's frustrating to hear those same things over and over. I know it's frustrating for you
Yeah.
to be made to feel like you're not answering this
Right.
question.
Well,
And so I just
one
want
of
to
the
make
things-
sure that you keep it
Yeah.
top of mind as you're.
No, and one of the things we could even explore is I haven't really seen this in any plan, but almost like a glossary, you know,
Mhm.
almost like a definitions
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
like, what do we mean when we say a plan? What do we mean when we say this is a priority for us?
Mhm.
And then what are those initiatives underneath,
And it
you
may
know?
seem basic,
But it
but
could be,
it's helpful to everyone to make sure everyone is on the same the same page.
Mhm.
And so when they have a question of you, they're using the
That same vocabulary, yeah.
right, because earlier in our discussion about the MOU or the agreement, there was the mention of memberships, which as a former librarian makes me, whoa, why are we never refer to our library visitors, users as members. And so,
Mhm.
so any language like that makes me go, oh no,
Yeah.
we're changing the definitions. And so, wanting to be sure
Mhm.
that we are using library definitions and we're bringing on people who are not accustomed to
Mhm.
the language that's used in libraries.
Yeah, and setting that shared vocabulary, that could be something we explore adding. Yeah, good point.
That was my question. Did anyone, did anyone else have any questions?
I really like these a lot.
Oh, thank
The
you.
only, the only thing that could possibly maybe help like a public facing interpretation of like the organizational excellence section, for example, would just be to highlight a little extra how organizational excellence is so important to the fulfillment of the rest of it. So the community understands when we have organizational excellence, that helps deliver the services
Mhm.
the community needs and wants.
Well, and
I
in some
really-
ways we could also think about changing the order, almost like start off with organizational excellence and establish the importance of it, and then everything else falling underneath that or something.
Because that's foundational.
Yeah.
And when the organization is at that excellent level,
Mhm.
then the organization can deliver
Mhm.
everything else that is so important.
Very good feedback. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so you said that this is our update. What's our next
Well,
update?
We're very close to finalizing this. So there's the option for a president's message from the board that we could put in or take out, and we can check in with you later about that. And there are a few, we'll want to take a very close look, our team, at the language, incorporate the feedback that we've heard tonight. And then in probably our next meeting or very close to it, we'll have a final polished version of this for the board to vote on.
Okay, all right. Sounds good.
Great.
Okay, so let me go back to the agenda. And then unfortunately, what I end up doing is opening another window. Well, give me just a moment. I should have just printed one out.
It's okay. We have printed ones. Do you want one?
Oh, if we have one, I'll take it. Okay.
Thank you, Evan.
All right, so now we're on item 14. Thank you so much. Proposed revisions to PVLD personnel policies and adoption of resolutions 2025-06 and 2025-07. Director Addington.
Thank you. I'm presenting this on behalf of our Human Resources Manager, Sarah Uden Armstrong. The memo you have includes all the updates to the personnel policy. The Board of Library Trustees adopted a memorandum of understanding on June 19th, 2025 with SEIU Local 721. And in that MOU, there were a number of provisions that needed to be reflected in the personnel policies for represented and non-represented employees. So what Sarah's done, what Human Resources Manager Uden Armstrong has done, and what added many, many pages to your agenda packet, was gone through the entire personnel policy for both represented and non-represented employees and updated every single thing that had to do with the MOU, and then a few clarifying omissions or changes. They're all laid out here under the different different personnel policies. You'll see the first one is compensation from pages 10 to 12. Personnel policies about paid leaves and absences. This adds all the newly negotiated aspects of the MOU. It goes into vacation, sick leave, bereavement, and then you have employee benefits. Again, changes a few things just for ease of reading, adds the new personal holiday time. I won't go through everything, but you can basically see where every policy that needed to be updated was updated. And then a few small things were done just for continuity and gender specific pronouns and ease of use and whatnot. So what we are asking the board tonight to do is to update, or apologies, approve two resolutions, 2025-06 and 2025-07, approving the updated PVLD personnel policy manuals for represented and non-represented management and confidential and management employees. Although they are almost identical, there are actually two personnel manuals, one for the represented employees and one for the non-representeds. But they are, we will admit, almost virtually identical, and
Okay. So this time, would you mind reading what the recommended action
Motions.
is?
The recommended action this evening is the Board of Library Trustees hereby adopts Resolution 2025-06 and 2025-07, approving updated PVLD personnel policy manuals for represented and non-represented management and confidential employees.
Okay, and you said that's two separate motions, right?
It can be done in one motion.
Oh, okay, if we can do it in one motion, that'd be great.
Yes.
Okay. So, can I get someone to?
So moved.
Okay. I have a motion from trustee Wong, on the recommended action. All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Aye. Okay, motion passes.
Thank you very much. We will get those updated and posted right away.
Okay, thank you. So the next item is item 15. Do we have a memo for that one?
We do not.
Okay, that's fine. So item 15 is consideration of ad hoc committee to explore alternate director compensation. That's being presented by me. So at our last meeting, we talked about alternate compensation for Director Addington, having an ad hoc committee to just do some consideration so that the next time we already have that available to us so that we're not trying to think about it at that time. I think that a very short term ad hoc committee could accomplish that. And I'm thinking that the two people who came tonight and gave us a quorum could be the two people to work on that.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, this is not a dig. This is just, everybody has their own schedule and responsibilities. Mine simply allows me to sometimes find a quiet moment to think about these things. And I have thought about these things. So
you're saying you don't need help?
no.
Okay.
Well, you know what? Evidently the trend in this country is one man can take care of it all.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm
Go
simply
ahead.
saying I've thought about it.
Okay.
And so, it's not something that we'd be picking up from scratch. It's something I've given a lot of thought to.
Okay.
So I have no problem about participating in that.
Okay, perfect. And so,
How does an ad hoc committee function? I can't recall.
so the two of you can work on projects together. And only the two of you. I mean,
We
you
don't
can,
violate Brown.
Yeah.
right. So you can ask for support from staff.
Mhm.
You just can't ask me anything. You can't ask the other trustees anything. And then you present to us. And what I am thinking, again, short term, especially since Secretary Wong has already thought about it. I'm thinking sunsetting it in November because sometimes there's a tendency to set up an ad hoc and it just
Yeah.
stretches out.
Meaning you'd want the presentation at the November board.
I would like us to finalize it. So I think we should have one, at least one update, but then have it finalized at our November meeting so that it sunsets. So that works for.
Yeah.
Mhm. Thank you so much for being willing to.
Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking it even if others of us were present tonight, I was thinking I wanted the two of you to work on it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Just as a point of clarity.
Yep.
I believe that an ad hoc has to report at every meeting,
Okay.
even if you have nothing to
On
report.
some, yeah.
Yeah.
So if
So
you
it'll
can make a note,
it'll be an agenda item.
Yeah.
From now until
Next.
November, but if you have nothing, you just say the ad hoc has nothing.
so if you can make a note so we don't
Yeah.
forget to have it on
We
every
will.
agenda.
We will.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Oh, do I have to get a motion?
No,
Okay.
ad hocs are at the discretion of the president.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So the next item is the CSDA Board of Directors election, term 2026 to 2028, seat B,
Mhm.
Southern Network.
Mhm.
Director Addington.
Thank you very much. Well, as you'll see in your packet, the California Special Districts Association has an open seat for their Southern Network. There are 3 candidates running for this seat: Don Bartz, Jason Daforn, and John Scribelis. Their interest paragraphs and CVs or resumes, whatever they were willing to put forward, was included in your packet. And we, as a district, get 1 vote. I personally do not know any of these individuals. I personally don't have a recommendation. I yield to the board as to whether or not they have any preference. And once given to me, I will make that vote for the district.
Well, I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, so typically in many meetings past, the board typically goes by its gut, not knowing any of these individuals. I was just curious, Trustee Butler, in your travels, have you encountered any of these personalities? Okay. I thought I'd give it a shot.
In the past, we've prioritized library districts if there ever were any, which there often isn't. And then, you look at the district itself, it seems like there's a lot of water districts, but community services, sanitation, and community services, so.
Well, we have an incumbent.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So that was knowing if you want.
my default would be the incumbent not knowing any better,
Mhm.
which is a horrible way to vote sometimes, but
I mean, everybody seems like they had good,
Mhm.
everyone was very interested and lots of different experiences, but.
I mean, realistically, what are they doing for us? How are they representing us?
I think maybe especially on like legislative committees and things like that. Again, I don't personally know any of them, and I've personally never dealt with our Southern Network Seat B Board of Directors. There are a lot of board of directors. I mean, it's a big board, so I think they're just one organization, which is why we always look for the smaller districts, because maybe the smaller districts have a little bit more of a camaraderie with a small special district like like a library district, but I don't have a recommendation, so I yield to the trustees in that regard.
Well, the incumbent provides assistance for a homeless shelter and participates in local government in their community. That's good for me.
Okay. So that would be a vote for Mr.
Bart's.
Bartz.
Yes. How about you?
I don't have.
You don't have a strong
preference.
preference?
No, no.
Okay.
I have no objection. He's the incumbent, as I
Okay.
indicated earlier.
Okay.
Could we have a very quick motion, just that the Board of Trustees would endorse Mr. Don Bartz
So
for
moved.
Seat B Southern Network.
We have a motion from trustee or Secretary Wong to endorse Mr. Bartz. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion passes. We'll make that happen. Okay. Item 17, District Director's Monthly Report.
Thank you very much. I'll keep it short. I did want to call out and really commend the entire staff who participated on the picnic on the peninsula, the summer reading kickoff. Specifically want to call out Crystal Costa, who took a leadership role on this, and all the staff. I highlighted my report with their photos because they've just done an exceptional job on this for the second year in a row. It was a really fun event. We had probably over 300 people there throughout the event. There was touch a truck, there were dancers, there was music, there was crafts, and everybody just did a really phenomenal job. So kudos to everybody. That obviously kicked off our summer reading. Summer reading is doing exceptionally well. We're getting, we're like 40% through on our 1,000,000-minute challenge. We've got over 900 book lists passed out already. So doing really, really well, and kudos to everybody who's doing that. Wanted to call out our adult services manager, Letty Polizzi, who hosted author Kristen Harmel. Wonderful opportunity for our patrons to come and hear local authors, not local authors, but published authors, and hear about what they've done. Also great painting activities at the branches, wonderful displays throughout the branches. Story times are doing phenomenal. Just everybody's doing a really great job. I'm also really looking forward to the implementation of the Link Plus program that the Library Friends Foundation is supporting. Circulation manager Ketsi Diaz has really gone above and beyond in getting that off the ground, taking a leadership role in learning about it, and will train her staff on implementing it. So that's going to be really exciting. What it's going to bring to the library district is going to be wonderful. We are going to be participating in the California Doors Open event again. This is a statewide event where individual organizations throughout California open their doors and welcome people in. And that's going to be in September, I think, for Doors Open California. There's a link there as well. I've tried to call out as much, wonderful things. And I think, again, these are all of that support when we talk about our initiatives, being a leader in the community, supporting access to open spaces, supporting creativity. I think the baleen whale fossil and the new plaque for that is something that's really engaging. I think it shows how the library is trying to just create those learning opportunities. Even if all you do is walk into the patio, you could be like, hey, what's that? Something kind of cool. So we're also very keen on sustainability and environmental opportunities. You can see how the guys are constantly refinishing our chairs ourselves, doing our electrical ourselves, getting certificates so that they can do plumbing themselves, so that they can do HVAC themselves. We've really gone out above and beyond to try and ensure that we can do as much of our work as we can without going and spending money to have other people do it for us. Our Pay It Forward Award winner this month was Tom Guest. Tom is a branch, a staff person, and just an absolute delight. If you ever have a chance to be over at the Malaga Cove branch, or I think occasionally here at Maryland as well, and have an opportunity to work with him, he's just a true delight. So wanted to call out a congratulations to Mr. Tom Guest. And of course, we ended the report with a beautiful photo of our very own Evan Coates and Otto Catalan representing PVLD out at our picnic on the peninsula. So happy to answer any questions at all, but I'll leave it at there as you have it there in front of you.
I have a nice photo of I think Robert at the popcorn machine. So if you would like
perfect.
that for future,
Yes, we
let me
keep
know.
we keep folders of all the pictures from the event, so we would love to have that. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. All right, next we have Community Relations Report from President Bueller.
Since last month's Palos Verdes Street Fair, I've had no further things to report, so.
Okay, all right, that's okay, thank you. Next is myself. I think we had a robust discussion about the foundation tonight, so I have nothing to add. I look forward to getting those slides and you all getting access to them as well. So if you have any questions once you receive those. Government Relations Liaison, Trustee Easton is not here, but I neglected to say at the beginning in my opening remarks that the state of California did budget for the Parks Pass.
Yes.
So it was at risk, but
and
it
we
did
got
get
back.
it did get funded. And there's still things going on with the IMLS.
Yes.
So we still have,
Some uncertainty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but yes, I had forgotten to mention that at the beginning. All right. So now we are at items for future agendas.
Are we talking August?
Well, here's the question.
This is where we have to have that discussion
yeah.
because you'll notice it was not agenda.
Yeah. Right now, on the August agenda, it's all updates. There would be an update from the ad hoc who may or may not have anything. I would ask Facilities Manager Gutierrez to come and give us an update on the terrace. We are also doing, as I have mentioned, I think before to the board, a very extensive redesign of the second floor staff area. That is going to require us to relocate staff for a while, and I have a request to the board. I don't think I need permission to do it, but I'd like them to be aware of potentially closing the mezzanine for a period of time while we use that as staff. But that's also something that could be done via email. So right now, the August agenda is all updates, no action items as of yet. So the question would be, do you want to go dark? Or do you think there's enough in August to keep the meeting on the books?
Well, the two questions I have is that with regards to mezzanine, it sounds like it's more advised as opposed to advised and consent.
Correct.
And then the second question I would have is, yeah, we have enough to go ahead and form a very streamlined meeting. My question would be that if we deferred to September, does that just simply mean we have a very bulky meeting?
Possibly.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I would assume that we would want an update on this joint agreement, and that could come as early as August. So,
Okay.
I mean,
Mhm.
we could have something in the next month. I'm gonna make every effort to get with legal counsel as soon as possible, so we would follow up with that. We want to bring an updated strategic plan. We could potentially do that in August. We could push that
Mhm.
till September, but there's the possibility of that.
I
mean,
think we, need to always push things.
Yeah, I mean-
There's
There's-
nothing wrong with having a short meeting,
yeah,
but still covering
Yeah,
things that we need to address.
yeah.
And,
I mean, we will have an update on the entryway,
Yeah.
the Deep Valley
well, that's what
entryway.
I was writing over here on
Yeah.
myself. So I do think we have enough things
Yeah.
to discuss.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind having an August meeting.
Mhm.
Um,
I mean, we don't, I know people like to go dark. We don't always need to
Yeah.
have that because we've had what I think
We've-
is a
we've got
busy
busy
year
year,
and
yeah.
we still are not finished.
I'm happy keeping it.
So am I. Well, as I said at the last meeting, I know our monthly meeting, and so my calendar is clear to come to our meeting.
Okay. Great.
Will we be at risk of not having a quorum, or are we?
Are you not coming?
No, I mean, I. I didn't mean it that way, but
No, we should have a quorum then.
yeah, just
Look how quickly the three of us got things done tonight.
well said.
Well, we were of a like mind on a number of issues.
But we do miss our other two friends. Okay, just for the record.
And you know, I will mention this here. Can we get an update on, people get a personal update on their attendance
Sure.
to date?
By email.
Yeah. Just so people know where they stand attendance wise.
When I was on the County Beach Commission,
Mhm.
the Board of Supervisors gifted us a small trophy at the end of each year if we had perfect attendance.
Wow.
Just an interesting observation from experience.
Well, I think at this point,
What were,
I'm the only one in the running for it.
what were the Board of
No.
Supervisors trying to say?
Yeah.
All right. I don't know why I laughed, because it was the beach.
It's interesting. It's a big department, actually.
Yeah.
The fun,
Yeah.
interesting.
Well, no, because I
Operation.
imagine the beaches, you know, just drags people away from other things they need to do.
I don't think they met at the beach. did you?
Only occasionally, maybe once a year, but.
All right,
With
so,
nothing else, I so move.
well, no, that's part, yeah. So we have everything
Yes.
for the
I-
agenda.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so can I have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
All in favor?
Bye.
Hi.
Aye. All right, thank you, everyone.